There's a Samoan phrase that says "tu leva," and "tu leva" means to nurture the spaces, and to nurture the spaces between people and places and objects. And when we nurture the spaces between people, places and objects, we nurture those spaces with care and respect and generosity. Like I'm in a space here, and this is my mum's work, and this has been influenced by her family, you know, her whakapapa or her tupuna, and this is what is an object, or these are the objects that have influenced her, and it comes from them. So living in New Zealand as a Pacific person in the community, I think it's really important to understand and know that there are so many different islands and cultures and languages in the Pacific. We're all independent, but we are connected by the moana, so by Te Moana Nui a Kiwa, or the Pacific Ocean. So there's a lot of our ancestors and grandparents who came here in the 50s and 60s and laid the foundations for our families to come. And so there's a lot of reciprocity that happens with the families came here first, they worked in various places, they set up homes, they enabled other family members to come from different islands to then settle here in New Zealand. And I think that it demonstrates our values in a way that we're still continuously caring, respecting and loving one another, even though we are separated. Our values are still the same here as they are in the islands. We're all looking after one another. So we try to ensure that our Te Maiti understand their heritage and where they've come from. We have a Pasifika Festival in the Bay. We encourage and engage with schools in Tauranga Moana area so that the children, the Pacific children in the schools can celebrate their identity, languages and cultures of the Pacific. And in that space we want to ensure that the children's family are engaged in the school, so then the school learns about our culture or Pacific culture, and then the parents can feel a warmth within the school which encourages children at school. I think that when we think about dealing with adversity in our Pacific community, we tu leva, we ensure that we care and respect and have generosity towards one another. So for example, the Tongan eruption and tsunami earlier on in the year, we've got a Tongan community here. I've got a Tongan friend who's very close to my heart, and it impacted his family. It was a really tricky time for him because of the fact that there was no communication between Tonga and New Zealand, and so the families were quite frightened for their families in Tonga. One of the ways that we nurtured that space between this place, New Zealand and Tonga, and the people was we went to one of the schools here, Tauranga Girls College. The girls asked if it was okay to do a stationery drive, and so the community brought stationery into the school. The girls packed up packages, and then we helped to ship them to Queen Charlotte College in Tonga, and that was a way for us to show our love and care for our family in Tonga, or families in Tonga. In Tuvalu, which is a place where I spent a lot of time as a child growing up, we would often, Tuvalu is one of the lowest lying raised coral atolls in the world. It sits 2 meters above level, and that's the highest point. And I remember as a child we would go to the ocean side of the atoll, and I would just see a whole lot of rubbish. There was a lot of plastic bottles and just trash along the coastline, and it was quite significant to me because I thought to myself, we're in this teeny tiny island and we don't generate a lot of rubbish on this island, and we manage the rubbish that is generated on the island. And so I know that in nurturing our relationship with our families over in Tuvalu and looking at that, the garbage that's there that's not a result of their behaviour, one of the things that we try to do here, for example at our Pasifika festival, is to ensure that we've engaged Waste Watchers, which is an expert company to come in to reduce the amount of landfill that we're sending to the whenua here, because we know that if we don't do anything about it, the actions of us here impact our families over in Tuvalu, and that is just, it's something that we need to be responsible for. Everybody needs to be responsible for, because there's some mindless behaviour, and that mindless behaviour doesn't think about the people that don't contribute to the pollution. Yeah. So the advice that I would give the leaders who are meeting at the G20 in Indonesia would be to levar. Make sure that you're thinking about nurturing the spaces and between the places and the people and the objects that you make decisions for. Make sure that when you are making decisions that you consider care, respect and generosity towards the people, towards the places, towards the objects that are within those spaces. And when you take time to consider that, I think at the end of the G20 summit is just to ensure that one of the main things is to levar in particular with the people. Do you still have a relationship with the people? Like, the decisions that you make have to ensure that you still nurture the space with care, respect and generosity to the people that you are making your decisions for.